this video, I'm going to show you how to build an email bot using Make.com and OpenAI assistants. And if you don't know me, my name's Sabrina Ramonov. I previously built and sold an AI company, and now I'm an AI educator with 500,000 followers. The tools you'll need for this video are Make.com, access to OpenAI's assistant playground, and something like Google Sheets or Excel to store your knowledge base of questions and answers. Real quick, what is an OpenAI assistant? You can think of it as a fine-tuned version of ChatGPT, where you upload specific knowledge that it can retrieve to answer questions with more context. It can also have access to tools like searching files, code interpreter, and calling other functions, or even tools that you build. Third, assistants can access persistent threads. So if you have a message history with an assistant, you can easily access that history. It's called the thread. We're going to build an email bot assistant. So every email that comes in, the bot is going to read it, analyze it, compare it with my previous responses to similar emails, and then write a response and send it out via Gmail through Make.com. So the first thing you're going to want to do is compile training data for the email bot, because you probably want it to reply to certain types of emails in certain ways. For this use case, I'm building an email bot for people who are replying to my newsletter. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to look for certain keywords that are in those emails and automatically label those emails as newsletter. So how to do that in Gmail, go to settings over here, see all settings. Go to labels over here. You'll want to create new labels. For example, I have one for Blotato. I have one for newsletter. Head over to filters, and this is where you can apply filters to incoming mail. So when it comes to my newsletter, there are two categories of emails I get. Number one, people have issues with confirming the newsletter. These filters look for the word confirm in the subject or the word subscription in the subject, and then it applies the label newsletter. And then there are people who ask me questions about AI. They get my newsletter, hit reply, and ask me a question. I search for this in the body of the email because I know this means it's coming from my newsletter. Copyright 2024, Sabrina Ramonov. So to create one of these filters, all you have to do is click create a new filter and then type in the filter you want, whether it's the subject containing certain words or if the email body contains certain words, and then click create filter down here. And this will apply to new incoming mail. So for testing purposes, I took a couple old emails and then applied the label so we could have some testing data for our email bot. Once you have the labels set up, you're going to go to make.com, and our scenario is really simple. Once you build out this initial version, you can obviously add more complexity with different routing. If the email is type A, you might want to go a different path. If the email is type B, you might want to go a different path. But for this example, let's keep it really simple. So create a new scenario in Make, go to scenarios, create a new scenario, and the trigger you're going to add is Gmail watch emails. Okay, fill out all this information. The folder is the label that we're applying. We go ahead and click this. You'll see kind of the default Gmail folders as well as any additional labels or folders you created. So I created this newsletter one. That's the one we're going to use. I'm doing a simple filter and then only unread emails. So when I get a new email, it's unread, and then this workflow is going to run if it is related to my newsletter. And this one's totally up to you. Do you want to mark the email message as read when it's being processed by Make.com? For me, I'm going to say yes, but again, totally up to you. And then hit OK. And the next step you're going to add is an OpenAI step to message and assistant. Click like add another module, OpenAI, and then the first one, message and assistant. So go ahead and add that. Okay. And this is where you're going to have to connect your OpenAI platform account. So I'll show you how to set that up in a sec. Once you add that, you'll be able to select your assistant from this dropdown, send the email to the assistant, and then get the reply back. So if you haven't already, you'll need to create a separate OpenAI account over here, platform.openai.com. It's a separate account from your personal chat.com account. You will need to set it up. You'll need to set up the billing, and you will need to add a phone number verification to be able to grab the API key, because you're going to need that for Make.com. Once you set up this account here, then go to your API keys, go to platform.openai.com, and then under organization, click API keys. And again, you will need a valid phone number, verify the number, and then you'll be able to create a new API key. Once you have that API key, copy it to your clipboard. And then when you add the OpenAI connection here, it's going to ask you for your API key. So name your connection, paste in your API key, and then hit save. Now make.com will have access to your account and any assistants you create. Okay, so now let's go ahead and actually create an assistant. Go to platform.openai.com and then click Playground in the top bar. Okay. And you have a couple options in the playground. You can chat, real-time, assistance, text-to-speech, etc. Click assistance. And this is going to be empty for you if you haven't created an assistant before. So you'll see a big button here that says create assistant. So go ahead and click that. In my case, I already have an assistant that I've built, so that this is what's appearing. I called mine email bot newsletter. You can imagine different email bots for different types of topic. And then the system instructions, this is basically the prompt for your assistant. So I'll expand mine over here. I started off with the writing style. I just want to make it sound less like AI. And by the way, if you want to copy and paste this, just go to my newsletter. It's going to have the same title as this YouTube video, and you can copy paste the entire prompt from there. Hashtag planning, I'm telling the assistant to first read the contents of the email and then determine the category. Again, in my case, there are really only two types of questions I get when it comes to my newsletter. Number one is help with confirming the newsletter subscription because I have a double opt-in. And the second type is just some kind of question about AI or ChatGPT. So in terms of the output, I instruct the assistant if it's category one, they need help with their newsletter subscription. The reply is very simple. Make sure you check your spam, junk, promotions, and update folders, and then teach your email provider by dragging the email over to primary. That way, my emails will not fall into spam, junk, etc. If the email is classified as category two, this is where it's interesting because people do ask me all kinds of questions about AI. What ends up helping people about 99% of the time is just directing them to existing content I already have. So for example, if you're brand new to ChatGPT, normally I'd recommend you start with my free YouTube course, ChatGPT for Beginners. If you're interested in using AI to build apps, normally I'd just recommend you watch my 2 YouTube playlists, AI builds apps in 1 hour and build SaaS with AI. If you're looking for help with prompts, then I would direct you to my prompts library, prompts.sabrina.dev. That pretty much takes care of 95% of questions about AI. And so here I'm telling my assistant, if the email is category two, always retrieve information first. So we're going to upload it, a bunch of my links and sample email responses. Then write a 2-sentence reply. This is just my preference. I don't really want a long AI written reply. I just want to direct the person to helpful resources. Always type the full links and use sample answers from answers.json or include a question in your reply. So sometimes I'll get really vague questions which aren't super clear, but I still want to direct the person to more in-depth tutorials and courses to learn about AI. And then here I'm just telling the assistant that links.json is the file that will contain links to my additional YouTube content, for example. And then answers.json is the file that has sample replies to previous emails. So go ahead and customize this in a way it makes sense for your use case for your company, and then hit save. Okay, for the model, if you're cost conscious or the email is not super complex, you could switch to GPT-4o mini. In my case, I'm going to stick to GPT-4o. And then the interesting part, the tools like file search. This is where you can upload files to help teach this assistant what it should say. The simplest way, honestly, is to create a Google Sheets. So I have one sheet here with answers. So I just copied like different emails I've received and how I replied over here. So question and answer. It's basically a mini knowledge base. And then over here, I have another sheet, links, that contains a bunch of links to additional contents. I really want my assistant to drive people to this additional content, which I truly believe will help them. Go ahead and create that for your use case. When you're building this out for the first time, I recommend keeping it simple. Like, don't spend a ton of time on this yet. Make sure you get the entire workflow working, and then you can invest a lot more time into building out this knowledge base. And it doesn't have to be question answer. That's just how I like to organize it. Now, once you're done, you can download it as a PDF and upload it to the assistant. But In my experience, the answers from the assistant tend to be much better if you feed in the data in a structured format. So, what I recommend you do is download it as a CSV and then convert the CSV to JSON. Okay. So, click here. Let's just do this example. So, download CSV. Okay. And you can use a free tool if you're technical, you can do this on the command line, or you can use a free tool like this, CSV to JSON. So, go ahead and choose your file. Okay. Here, click convert. Okay, and now this is the JSON format. Download this JSON format, rename it, and this is what you're going to upload to your assistant. So let's go back to the assistant. So enable file search and then click plus files to add new files and drop in your JSON files. In my example, I have links.json and answers.json. And if you mess up this process for whatever reason, it's totally fine. Just click delete to completely delete the vector store and then upload your files again. You have additional capabilities here like code interpreter, which allows you to call external APIs, but we're not going to do that today. This is a pretty simple email bot responder. Temperature here refers to kind of the randomness. So if you have a lower temperature, then it's going to be less random and more deterministic. Once you've gotten that set up, now you can test the assistant over here on the right-hand side. So here I'm just pasting a simple one. So this should be category 1. They haven't received the confirmation email. Okay, and this works great. This is exactly what the AI assistant should reply. Only in very rare cases is the confirmation email actually not sent to the person. Like 99.99% of the time it was sent, it's just in a different folder. Let's try one that should fall into category 2. Go ahead and clear this thread because this email is a brand new different email, so it shouldn't be in that thread. Okay, so this is a very vague email, but I get emails like this all the time. So I would like to learn more. This should fall under category 2, and here's my email bot's response. To learn more about AI, start with my ChatGPT for Beginners series on YouTube. Additionally, explore the AI automations chatbots. That's exactly what I would reply in that case because I really don't know where this person's coming from. So I'm going to assume that they're seeking like beginner level knowledge. Typically, people who are seeking intermediate or advanced knowledge are more specific in what it is that they're trying to do. So this is great so far. Go ahead and clear this again. Now here's a more complicated email. Is there a way I can learn how to create effective prompts, etc., etc.? And now the email bot will respond. It's running retrieval. Here's my free prompts library. You can also submit a request for a new custom prompt, which is also embedded in the link. So as long as they go to this link, they'll also see a way to create their own custom prompt. So that's perfect. Now, this is a question I get all the time, like some kind of variation of this. I have no idea what my AI bot is going to respond. People often ask me, how do I make money with AI? How do I become a millionaire with AI, etc. To explore ways to use AI for financial success, you can start with these resources pointing to building apps with AI. I personally wouldn't have responded with something like that. So this is a really good case where I might want to add this to the training data set over here. So I would add like this question, and then I would add my ideal response, which honestly would be that there are thousands of ways to make money and AI can help you in all of those ways. So the more important thing anyway is to figure out what it is you actually enjoy doing and go do that. And in the process, you will figure out ways to leverage AI to be more productive. So that would be more of my ideal answer. So that's a really great example of, hey, I wasn't really happy with this response. I should probably add this to the training data set over here. Okay, and then let's try one more. So again, this is a little bit more complicated. So what are you looking to learn with AI? What are your favorite AI tools? What's your top challenge? For a little bit of time, my newsletter asked users these questions, and then people would respond. In this case, I would definitely respond to start with my ChatGPT for Beginners course, since the person is saying like, everything feels overwhelming because I'm not educated in this field. And definitely the best next step is my AI automations and chatbot course. Let's do one more pretty complex one. So this person is asking about like Gemini and Copilot tutorials in medicine or public health, which I honestly just don't have much content on. And thankfully my email bot replied that. I don't have the specific tutorials for Gemini or Copilot, but you might find these resources useful for coding with AI. And then for learning low code, no code, then it links to build SaaS with AI. I don't think it's great, but I think this is a good start for this person's question. I've realized like a lot of people don't even realize what you can build with AI coding assistants today. And that's why I like to point them to YouTube series showcasing what is actually possible today. And that helps inspire people and stimulates their creativity into thinking, oh, this might work for what I'm trying to do. So we've got our assistants. I'm pretty happy with this current version. And again, as I find things that I want to fine tune, I can just add it to my email trading data over here and just make sure you re-upload it here so that you're updating your vector store for the email bots. And the last step is just piecing everything together with make.com, which is pretty easy. Again, we already set up Gmail, so this will watch emails coming in. So when I get a new newsletter email, make.com picks it up, sends it over to OpenAI and our assistant, fill out the rest of this. So choose your email bot here under assistants. And then the message is very simply like the subject of the email and the text content from step one. So you want to just click this and then subject and then text content. If you want to include anything else as well, you just click on these items here. Click OK. And then the last step you want to add is either send an email or draft an email. If you click Gmail, you have a couple options: create a draft or send an email. In my case, I'm going to send the email automatically, but for testing purposes, I'm going to send it to myself first. Okay, and then when I'm happy with it, then I will send it to the person who emailed me. For the subject, since this email won't be in the same exact thread as the original email, I just say re and then the subject. So go ahead and click this. And then the content, so my reply will be from step 2, OpenAI, and the result. Okay, so go ahead and do all of that. Click OK, and then enable it. And then we're going to test it out by clicking run once. So when you're testing this out, just make sure you do have sample emails that will trigger this, okay? And it'll be obvious when you don't, because you'll click run once and then make.com will say like it couldn't find any emails. Click this to check what email it found. And you can see here like the subject is newsletter and subscription issues, which is pretty clearly category 1, need help with subscription. So the content should be on my end. I see the confirmation email was sent to you. And then I received the email here, right? Okay, so that works. So that's pretty much the full flow. And the only thing to watch out for here is just to make sure that it is getting emails. So it's going to ask you like, should it be watching for emails starting from now, starting from last week? For testing purposes, I said starting from last week. So all I did is I went to my inbox and then I clicked some emails and then I just mark as unread, and then make.com can pick it up and run it through this workflow for testing purposes. And then once you're happy with everything, just make sure you change email address over here to the person who originally emailed you. So sender email address. Okay, send the email back to the person who originally emailed you. And then everything's ready to go. Just make sure you click save, and that's pretty much it. All right, hope you enjoyed this video. Hit subscribe. I'm going to be releasing more videos on building AI automations and chat